Election day is little more than a month away. With so much at stake, what are we all doing to help? Welcome to MOMocrats Mama Chat, part of the DemCast family of podcasts. I'm Donna Schwartz Mills, here with my friends Karoli and Aliza Worthington of crooksandliars.com. And you guys, I don't know how I could get through this really frightening time without having these weekly chats with you.
Same.
Agreed.
Agreed.
It's been super frightening, and I mean, right about the time that you think you're getting momentum, stuff happens. So now we have, gas prices going up again, and hurricane, and all these things. And midterms are 30 days. What did you say? 30 days away?
Another
A little more than that.
about a month,
Yeah.
and about 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about 5 weeks. And
So,
I will be spending a good part of the weekend writing postcards for Christy Smith, who is again trying to flip this district in northern Los Angeles County that I have been redistricted into, and there is no fucking way I want the MAGA guy who's there now
Yeah.
representing me. So
the MAGA guy who lies about him being a MAGA guy. Yeah.
lies about him being a MAGA guy. He's got a great big billboard right by my house where he's touting his military record, and he's anti-choice. I mean, he's a forced birther. He's
terrible.
He's a MAGA guy. He's terrible.
And he didn't win by very much last time.
No, he didn't. It was only a few hundred votes. Wasn't it? Like 300 votes?
It was 459, I think.
Yeah.
Was
How do you know that, Karoli? How do you remember that?
Because I have this junk mind for numbers like that. It's like that this is a meaningless statistic to anybody except in this podcast, but it'll just jump into my brain. But if there's a word that I need to find, oh, God forbid, that would be terrible.
That's only because of the stroke, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I haven't had a stroke, and I struggle.
And I still have that problem too, right? I mean, we don't even have that excuse.
Your mind, I mean, I don't know if you saw last week's, we were talking about how we miss you in your mind every time you're not here.
It's true.
Aw. Okay, well, anyway.
A lot when you're not here. So, I mean, that is what I'm doing right now, aside from, the usual donations and things, although end of the month, my inbox is like crazy.
Oh, I know.
All the requests.
Okay.
I did have to put a stop to the texts. I can't stand the text.
I've been actually stopping all the texts because it's crazy. And then I open my inbox and literally I have 300 emails right after I cleaned it out.
Yeah.
It's like too much. They need to stop with that.
And the thing is, every time you send a new donation, they add you all over again.
I know.
Yeah. So it's like a necessary evil, and it's annoying, but at the same time, I want them to do well. I will have to say that I got several emails yesterday from the Wisconsin Democrats, and in the 2020 cycle, you remember they did some very creative things where they had the Princess Bride together. Next weekend, they're going to have the entire cast of Veep and the cast of West Wing together doing a crossover something, and that sounds intriguing enough that I think
that does sound pretty impressive. Where does Wisconsin get like this creativity? It's like the cheese state. I don't understand.
I think has good.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't care what it is, who it is, who has the friends, who makes it happen. I just want Wisconsin to, not send Ron Johnson back to the Senate.
Oh, I know. I'm not like I'm not denigrating it. I'm just like surprised that there's this, incredible political creativity that comes out of Wisconsin. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, Ben Wickler in Wisconsin, David Pepper in Ohio.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
They're both great.
Yeah. So, and then you got Ron Johnson.
I know.
Well, but then you've got Gavin Newsom, who is like definitely us. He goes, I'm going to win my election easy. I've got all this money. I'm going to put billboards in Texas and Florida,
Right. So you'll crack up.
He's in money.
he's great. And what he's doing is we need. I mean, he's basically saying, look, I have money. I'm going to push back on these guys
Yeah.
and everything. But he is flipping the wingers out like you wouldn't believe. So Cal Matters is it's like an opinion-based site that says they're not opinion. It says they're news, but they're really opinion here in California. And I suspect that they're funded by right-wingers, but I've
Really?
never really dug into it. They're supposed to be an independent or, nonprofit organization, but we know how that works. Anyway, one of their writers there is just flipping a biscuit over Newsom. And so today's column from him is Gavin Newsom will never be president. And then he goes on to say that, because he's too divisive, he's putting all these divisive messages out. And if you're running for president, you have to be a uniter. Since when? Only Democrats have to be uniters. It's
Yeah.
Republicans that have to be uniters.
It's funny. But Greg Sargent today did a column praising Gavin Newsom while calling him cringeworthy.
Yeah, I know. I saw that
in the same
too.
column? In
Yes.
the same breath, probably.
Yes.
In the same sentence.
Yes.
I saw that too. I was like, okay, what else, Greg? But I mean, it's just so interesting to me, the double standard. Like Republicans can do anything they want, and they just go kind of shrug and say, yeah, that's just what Republicans being Republicans. A Democrat gets out, a Democrat gets out and fights, right? And actually like points out hypocrisy and does things and spends money that he can spend. Yeah, and throw some actual truth out there, and it's like, oh my God, that's cringeworthy. It's how can they?
It's divisive. How are you
divisive?
You're gonna suppress the vote, or you're gonna do this, or you're gonna do that.
It's like there's the double standard is just amazing for Republicans as opposed to Democrats. It's not even funny anymore. It's really annoying.
You would think that the Democratic Party was largely made of Black females.
You would. And you'd be right that that's our base, but we have other people in there.
Yeah.
Same. But anyway, I mean, it's just, I don't know. The double standard amazes me, and the press, it's just super frustrating lie.
Yeah, well, there's the liberal media is a myth. That is a lie. That is a fucking lie. And I'll take the first, the first penalty box for the first fuck in the show today. But that
I miss the sound effects that we used to have.
I know, right? That would have been a great.
No, I need the buzzer moment or something, or a gong to go off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lie. I can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah.
No, it is. It's total lie. So anyway, but so Gavin Newsom's out there actually doing some great messaging, although I'm sure that he's done with Florida now, since Florida is now devastated. Yeah, and honestly, it'll probably be California that steps up and helps them with a lot of the stuff that they're going to need.
But that's what his messaging was just now, where he was letting Floridians know that California was going to help them.
Sure,
right.
As opposed to DeSantis.
Yeah. Well, DeSantis was very happy to take the FEMA money and whatever Biden gives and take
the aid that he wanted to deny New York in 2013.
Here, both and
New Jersey, right?
And New Jersey. But like I said, go ahead.
Even today, Rick Scott and Marco Rubio voted against aid to their own state.
Isn't that amazing?
Wait, what happened?
They voted against aid to their own state. They were supposed to approve the budget, right? This is a budget resolution that.
Oh, I thought we were talking about FEMA, so the budget resolution to keep the government going and stuff.
Right, and then there was extra money in there for Florida, and and the hurricane relief because they need I mean, let's not forget Puerto Rico. Hello. Puerto Rico's
Everybody
over there.
forgets Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
Everybody
you know.
forgets
Well,
Puerto
I
Rico.
don't.
They haven't had power. They
Puerto
haven't had power in a couple of weeks.
They haven't had a working electric grid since Maria 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, they have not had power, and
Oh,
I
my
mean,
cutie.
I know she's being very needy right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But you know, I was talking, actually having a conversation with Dave last night, which hasn't happened a lot recently because I've been working a lot. But the just about how, you know, DeSantis had voted against Hurricane Sandy relief, calling it,
Yeah.
you know, an
Mhm.
irresponsible boondoggle or whatever he called it
Yep.
for New Yorkers and New Jerseyans, New Jerseyites, whatever you call it. And when he was in Congress, and now, of course, he's more than happy to take relief, you know,
Oh, yeah.
ask for exactly the same kind of relief from the Biden administration. And I said, of course, Biden's gives it to him because
Right.
he's not a monster, you know, he cares about, you know. And Dave corrected me. He said Biden's not giving it to DeSantis. He's giving it to the people who live in Florida.
That's the
Yeah.
truth.
You know, and I was like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Because
That's
Biden
true.
doesn't care how you vote. If you're in the middle of a tragedy, he's going to help you.
Right.
Right.
And that, you know, and I was like, that's a really good differentiation, you know.
Yeah.
He's not,
So-
and that's the way Biden looks at everything. Like, you know, it's not like I'm helping DeSantis. This is not tit for tat. This is, you know, I'm helping the people who are you know, the people that DeSantis wouldn't help if he was, you know, in my situation, the people that Trump would throw paper towels at if he was in, you know.
Yeah.
Where is
So-
Trump during all this? Is he in New Jersey for the hurricane, or is he in, where is he? I don't even know.
Yeah, he wasn't in Florida. I think
He
he's
wasn't
up
in
in New
Florida.
York and New Jersey somewhere, because Florida he leaves during the summer.
Right.
So
I was just curious because technically, I mean, I guess this isn't summer anymore, but
No, he
Well,
waits till the
anyway.
season is, you know,
he
goes
waits till
there for the
hurricane
winter.
season is over before he
He goes
goes
there for the
down. Right?
winter.
Yeah.
reaching back to Rick Scott for just a minute, though.
Yes, please, by all
Can we
means.
just remember that Rick Scott was the governor that made the state of Florida take all mention of climate change off their site when he was governor, and wouldn't acknowledge climate change, and, you know, to this day doesn't acknowledge climate change. And you can't look at the state of Florida right now and the devastation that just ran across the whole entire state. There was no part of that state that didn't get something from that horrible storm, right? You can't look at that. You can't look at what's happening now with it going back on shore, because it's the monster that won't die, in South Carolina, and wreaking havoc there again, and still deny climate change. You just can't do it. I mean, they
do. And yet they do.
right.
And yet they do. And they keep making little comments about, imagine if we were like California and all we had were EVs and we couldn't plug in, you know? And
You know,
that's
all the snark about
gonna work
EVs,
in this, you know?
all that snark about EVs is just drives me crazy. I get it on Nextdoor all the time
I can't
too,
wait.
you know.
I cannot wait
I
to get an
know.
EV. They're just not available,
I
you
know.
know?
Yeah.
You
They're
know,
not.
gas is over $6 again here in California.
I know why, and that's I
And
was
it
going to
never
bring
went
that
down
up.
until lower than like 5.25.
Right. And I don't know why it's up
Ours
another
is,
dollar again.
I wasn't even aware that it was going back up again, because it's still, I'm afraid to say it to you guys, but it's $3.39 where I am.
And I hope it stays that way.
Me too.
I personally think
And
that
that's where it's kind of been steady here at that for a while. I didn't realize it was going back up in other parts of the country. That's how I have not been paying
in the
attention.
West it's going back up. And the oil
What?
companies say that it's a refinery issue. But you know
Oh,
what?
okay.
It's always something.
Right.
They complain about our regulations. They
Mhm.
they say we don't have enough refineries, and maybe there's some truth to that. But I personally think that the oil companies don't like California's policies. They
I-
don't like that we are going to require any new cars sold in beginning in 2035, I think, to
Yeah.
be EVs. And
Right.
they want to, just before an election,
Yeah.
they want to make Californians angry enough to vote out the Democrats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I
That's
do
what I
think
think
there's
is
some
going on.
that's what I told my son this morning. I said, to me it feels like revenge.
Yeah, it does.
And
It's
and he's
totally
like,
like
all
revenge.
I know is that I have to commute 30 miles both ways and in my Highlander, because that's what he's got because of his drums.
Right.
And it's almost $7 a gallon.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's and I don't mind us paying more than the rest of the country,
Right.
but we've been paying double the rest of
Yeah.
the country for a while now.
We're supposed to get rebates, by the way, in
That's true.
October. We're
Gavin
supposed to get,
Newsom, thank you.
yeah, we're supposed to get like $700 back, which would
Right.
be nice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's not
that's
nothing.
something at least. But
Well, that's 10
geez,
Phillips,
right?
It's not nothing.
No, I mean I'm not sneering
Yeah.
at it by
No,
any
I know
stretch.
you're not. I'm
It's
agreeing.
some
I'm
relief.
saying.
It is some
Yeah.
relief. But
Yep.
I swear, after the election, I think that's when the gas rates will come down here.
They'll come right down.
I
Yeah,
agree.
okay,
I
you're
think
right.
they'll plummet
Yeah.
after. I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
So that was my cynical explanation too, was that they
Where
just,
else
because
is it
the
happening in New
House,
York too?
It's in
I
Arizona.
don't know.
Arizona? Okay.
Okay, well the House, I mean, if we want to hold the House, it runs through California,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's some seats we have to flip, one of which is Donna's district.
Mhm.
And there's some in the Orange County area. So it would follow, you're right, that they would use whatever they could to,
Yeah.
defeat Democrats, including
And
this.
Katie Porter needs to hold on to her seat.
Right. Katie
Mhm.
Porter needs to hold on to hers, and she's in a much more challenging district this time. But I
Right.
think she'll be all right. I do. I think she's got Huntington Beach in there, or at least part of it, which
They're
yeah, I know.
awful.
They're the fascists there, but nothing you can do about that. But
Yeah.
there's other areas that are better.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, it's just anyway. Okay.
Anyway, so we were talking about double standards.
Mhm.
And I think that we should talk a little bit about the double standard between Samuel Alito and the female justices. Samuel Alito this week made some really nasty comments about Elena Kagan. Because
I don't know anything about this because what?
Because she said that the Supreme Court is in danger of being considered illegitimate, which it is.
Right.
It's already considered illegitimate.
Right.
Right.
So what did Alito say?
Well, so Master Alito didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, he basically
him.
said she should shut the fuck up.
Mhm.
He didn't say it in those words, of course.
He said it's crossing a line.
Yeah.
To
Okay.
say that.
And do you remember the speech he gave in the summer in
Yeah.
Italy about, making fun of everybody who was upset about Dobbs.
Who was upset about Dobbs, about
Oh yeah.
Right.
how they don't like it when
So-
something just doesn't go their way.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. I'm so quiet, I'm just going to do everything by the book judge is feeling very emboldened these days. And
He
he's
really
got a
is.
chip on his shoulder. And he and Thomas both think that
Oh, Thomas has no room to.
So Keith Olbermann, I don't know if anybody listens to Keith Olbermann's Countdown podcast, but his opening today was excellent. I mean, he basically just shredded Alito. It felt so good because I wouldn't be like that, right? I mean, he's one of the things he's got going for him is that he can just be so bombastic, and I wouldn't, and it felt good. It was like, yeah, you keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
during W years, Olbermann's outrage was just it helped.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it did, and still does to this day. But the bottom line here is the court is illegitimate, right? I mean, they cheated to get their justices on there. 4 of the justices apparently lied under oath,
right,
in order to get on the Supreme Court. So tell me more about why we shouldn't call this court illegitimate.
And
Please.
if anybody would know, an actual Supreme Court justice, a sitting Supreme Court justice would know if they're in danger of being, considered illegitimate.
Right.
And as a jurist,
She knows more than we do.
as a jurist and a legal mind, don't forget that when I forget which justice she replaced, but
Oh,
at
I
the
am bad
time,
at that.
at the time that Obama was deciding who to pick, Scalia wanted Kagan. He said to Ginsburg, his friend, "Please tell me it's going to be Kagan," because he liked sparring with her.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah. So,
From a
I
purely
mean,
legal mind viewpoint,
Yeah.
Kagan is an impeccable.
Yeah. That's an interesting
yeah,
story. I didn't know that.
yeah. I mean, I guess they were friends. They were good friends, but I mean, beyond that, it's just, Alito, please spare us the shock
Yeah,
over the natural consequence of what you're doing
Yeah.
to this country.
yeah,
Right? I mean, I'm sorry, but you deserve everything you're getting, and you are illegitimate. And I mean,
Talk about
here's
whining because you don't like what's happening. If
so
he's
here's a great example, right? It's not just Thomas, but it's also Roberts and Coney Barrett. Their spouses, they're not disclosing where
right.
their income's coming from, so we don't know if there's any conflicts of interest. I guarantee you there are
oh, I'm
conflicts
sure
of
there
interest.
are.
Now that we have raised the issue that Thomas didn't report Ginny's income,
Right.
Roberts's response to that is, "Don't have to do that anymore."
What? I didn't hear that.
Oh, isn't that what it was?
No, it was so let's go back.
Okay,
Ginny Thomas's income not being reported was from 2011.
right.
So it's been years now, right?
Okay.
And he did say that you have to report the income, but the issue is you don't have to report the source of the income.
Ah,
Okay? And
okay.
that's what the problem here is,
Right.
because
You
her
can't tell if it's a
income
conflict if you don't
her
know the
income was
source.
basically paid by Harlan Crow, the $700,000, and it was to defeat the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
Right.
And
Which they
so
had cases on again and again.
again and again, right? And so and along those lines, right, you had in 2019 Ginny Thomas appearing with Cleta Mitchell at a Council for National Policy meeting where they were talking about how they were going to build this whole gaggle of nonprofits
Which
that
they
were
have.
going to be right-wing nonprofits, which they have done. And that those nonprofits, 38 of those filed amici briefs in the Dobbs case.
Right.
So you see where this is all going, right? There are
Mhm.
clear conflicts of interest, and they are the only judges that don't have to disclose.
Right. Because there are no ethics laws.
So I
The
mean,
Supreme Court justices.
basically, like Sheldon Whitehouse has got a bill to force them to make
Yeah.
ethical disclosures, but it has to get through both sides of Congress in
And to
Yeah.
order
filibuster.
to happen.
And a filibuster, right?
Right.
So we desperately need new Democratic senators. We
Right.
desperately need to win the Senate, more Senate seats, and we desperately need to hold on to the House, hopefully with
Right.
more of a margin. And as Karoli says, we need to flip those districts in California.
Yeah.
Right. And in terms of the Senate, I mean, until that happens, until there are basic ethics requirements, the court is illegitimate. That's
Right.
all.
Right.
Even if there were basic ethic requirements, I don't have any confidence whatsoever that the
Well, that's just a start.
Republicans on it are gonna
No, that's just a start.
would
We
adhere to
also
them.
need to expand it.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
We need to rebalance it.
Of course, Keith Olbermann is saying, if you can't rebalance it and you can't expand it, then just ignore it.
Well, that's easier said than done, and you have to be pretty privileged to just ignore.
I totally agree with that. But I do think that it's time on our side that some of our legal minds start. I mean, here's an example. There's already a case that's going to work its way up on the student loan forgiveness.
Right.
Right. And it's bullshit. It's
It
bogus.
is.
In fact, the Biden administration has already tried to cut the
Yeah.
knees out from under it.
Yeah.
Right. By saying that anybody who, so the argument goes something like states would be harmed. Well, individuals would be harmed if the state made them pay taxes on the forgiveness. In other words, so the forgiveness actually harms the individual because then they have to pay state taxes on it, maybe. And
Which is
so the
bullshit.
Biden administration said,
Get
you
forgiveness.
can opt out. We
Yeah.
won't forgive it. If you don't
Yeah.
want us to do it, we won't do it.
Right. Right.
And that was not enough, so they're
Yeah.
proceeding with this multi-state lawsuit. And if nothing else, it'll just jam stuff up. Where are the Democrats? Where is our side with the multi-state lawsuits against all the bullshit? These guys, like, where are we not suing in Texas on the
We're
or
too busy
Georgia?
suing on voting rights laws. We only have one Mark Elias.
Well, I know. I guess that's my point. Is that
Yeah, I mean,
basically
like, I
what?
want to Mark Elias on Dobbs,
Yeah.
Right.
challenging every single fucking abortion law that's gone into effect or gone back into effect since
Right.
Dobbs. I want a Mark Elias on voting rights. I want a Mark Elias on
Women's rights.
regulation of the oil industry. I want Mark Elias. I mean, we need like dozens of clones of Mark Elias who's going to go after.
And this is a result of Jenny Thomas's multi-faced war.
Yeah.
To keep us unfocused.
She's like a Hydra. Like,
it is.
We've got those things.
It is actually is a Hydra, and that's what they called us.
Yeah.
I mean, they project always,
Yeah.
and so they called us the Hydra. But it is the product of that Jenny Thomas war, but it's also the product of right-wingers buying all the really good legal minds as they come up. I mean, they start with high school.
Federalist Society is.
They help them through college. They help them through
Yeah.
law school. They put them in the Federalist Society, and then they find them jobs in nonprofits. And
Yeah,
then
but
from the nonprofits,
But how do they find the bad people to do this?
They
Like,
get them.
people-
They get them before they get them when they're young and impressionable.
they get them in high school.
They're not bad yet.
Yeah, but so they turn them into bad people? Like, I don't.
Yeah,
believe
pretty
that.
much.
Slowly.
I mean, it just all you have to do is, basically indoctrinate them. Find their parents who are Republicans. That's where you start, right? And you go from there because there is.
Yeah, they're already predisposed. They already find the entitled assholes, and they pay for their law school.
Exactly. That's how it works. I mean, I have friends that are lawyers on our side of things that are really frustrated with the fact that they literally have a legal army and what's the word? I can't think of it. When you have in football, or baseball, you bring people up from farm teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we have that?
Because we don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the billionaires to put the money into developing that.
Oh, come on. We have George Soros. We have all the Jews, don't we? Don't we own everything?
So the Patagonia
apparently we're not
may work out.
Apparently, we're in charge, but we're not smart enough to do what they do.
Yeah. I don't know. We got space lasers.
Yeah. Well, the Patagonia, guy donating his stock basically to a 501c4 is a good thing, but it's specifically geared to climate change. So they'll build the infrastructure with that money around climate change, which is great. That's one thing. We need that, but we need more on the women's rights side and on the human rights side, civil rights. I mean, all of those things that are being taken away from us by the Supreme Court. So, yeah, it's kind of dismal right now, but I Donna said fucking Alito, and I think that's just pretty much right. And as we're speaking about judges that came up from the farm team, let us not forget Eileen Cannon, who is basically serving as Donald Trump's defense lawyer at this point.
Yeah.
A bad one at that, but she's got a lot of power. Like if she was actually a lawyer, if she was the lawyer, she's serving as his like She's serving as his corrupt judge. Like a judge who was listening to her, if she was being a lawyer, would throw her out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because her arguments are so flimsy. They're based on nothing. She's so obviously wrong, and she's so obviously biased, like that an actual judge, wouldn't take anything she's saying
Well,
seriously.
you look at the difference between her and Deary.
Yeah.
Right, the special master, and which she just overrode the special
And she
master.
did not like that yeah, she overruled him.
Yeah.
But at least the DOJ got to have control over the 100 classified documents.
Right.
That has not been overruled. And the
I
criminal.
don't think it's been appealed either.
Yeah, it would have to go to SCOTUS. I don't
Right.
think you're going to go to SCOTUS on that. The criminal investigation is continuing.
Right.
And that is the big thing.
It is the big thing.
Classified documents. And I still am terrified of what we're going to find out, or what they're going to find out, because I don't know how much of it they're going to tell us about who had access to those documents, what happened to them, all those empty folders.
Who has them now?
Yeah. And, speaking of which, Putin apparently gave like a bonkers speech today as he annexed parts of Ukraine.
Illegally annexed parts of Ukraine.
Illegally annexed parts of Ukraine.
To which Biden said,
I have a word question. Speaking of words, doesn't that imply illegal?
Yes.
Or is it possible to legally annex something? No, and like annexing a part of a country, you are automatically okay.
Yeah. So Biden basically said,
no,
go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is mine. This mine. And
right.
Yeah.
Karoli gives no fucks today.
None of us does. We don't.
So last week we managed to get through the whole thing without even once, I thought, but yeah.
Well, is that because I wasn't here?
No.
No.
I just think we were mellower last week than we are this week.
Yeah.
Well, I started us off early. I did uncork the fuck jar when pretty early in the show. So
yeah, that's true. You did.
Sorry,
but it's okay. It's okay.
Sorry, not sorry.
So yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's the title of our article about that on Crooks and Liars. Basically, Vladimir Putin, go fuck yourself. So, yeah. Anyway, it's I don't know. That scares me a lot because he's been threatening nukes and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah,
I
he's
don't know.
cornered. He is.
On the interesting and bright side, Vladimir Zelensky applied for NATO membership.
To NATO.
I know.
Gotta love him.
Already at war with Russia. I don't know how quickly that's going to happen.
Well, I don't know, but I think I think it forces the issue though.
Yeah.
And then you have Biden basically saying, make no mistake, we will defend NATO territory to the death,
And then you have the New Yorker today saying we're already in World War III.
Well, I think that's true to some extent.
Yeah. And then you have these disturbing tweets from Michael McFaul and from Paul Krugman.
Oh, I didn't see that. What were their tweets?
Where they have been hacked by what looks like Russians in Krugman's case, somebody hacked in and was downloading child porn. And in McFaul's case, they're saying these outrageous things that he would never say.
I'm not happy about McFaul. I mean, I'm not happy about Krugman either, but like McFaul has, I don't want anybody.
I think it's just the beginning of famous people on the left getting.
Well, I have to tell
Yeah,
you,
but
I mean,
wasn't he a diplomat or some kind of like
Yes,
high up in the State Department?
Patel was our ambassador to Russia.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't want, Paul Krugman is just a journalist. I'm not just a journalist, right? But,
He's a Nobel-winning economist.
oh
yeah.
yeah. Okay.
But here, I mean, both of those things, I think the Krugman probably fell for the same kind of fish that I did, right?
Mhm.
Where you get told by Facebook that you better click right now, right here,
Right.
or else you're gonna, lose your account. And
Mhm.
Yeah.
and if it's on your phone, here's the thing: if it's on your phone, you can't see the link. If it's on your computer, you can see the link. So, but if it's on
Well,
your phone, you
you don't
can't.
click
And
it
then
if
you
it's on
click
your
it,
phone.
and then the uploading child porn is the part that makes me
Yeah.
think so, because that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. Yeah, it was awful. So, yeah, I mean, I guess this would be where we all once again remind everybody: don't reuse passwords. Make sure that you're using two-factor authentication. Be sure you're using strong passwords. Use a password app if you have to
We
do
use
it. I mean,
LastPass. It's a
yeah,
very good,
that's what I use LastPass.
very good app.
It's a great app, and just do things to keep yourself safe. But
And
yeah,
it's slightly more inconvenient than
Not much.
than not, but it is way, way more convenient than getting hacked.
Yes,
right.
I agree.
So, worth it.
Yeah.
And it'll happen to you
And
at some point. People are trying right now, guaranteed.
we do not get paid by LastPass. We just all
We
use
No,
it.
don't.
we don't get paid by anybody.
None of this was sponsored.
None of this
No, we
is
don't get
sponsored.
paid by no.
There are other worthy
Okay.
programs out there, but this is the one we've been using.
Right. So there's that. So should we
So
move on to other
now
things here?
we've touched on just about everything on the list in record time
I
and with
didn't even know we had a list, but you know
The
what I want to go
January
back and
6th,
talk about?
we did
but
not talk about the January 6th committee not having a televised a
The
hearing
hurricane.
week because of Ian. We touched on Ginny Thomas appearing before them yesterday. And
not really good enough. I mean, let's just say it,
can we talk
right?
about that creepy smile as she was walking through the hallway? I have nothing to worry about. I'm fine. Because I know
Well,
the election was stolen and that Biden should go on Gitmo and the Biden crime family.
I
Um,
mean, she went in and told the January 6th committee that she still thinks the election was stolen, even though she has no evidence of that.
yeah.
And this is the wife of a Supreme Court justice, people. I mean, this is not like, oh, and then she says, but I didn't talk to Clarence about it. And we're supposed
Yeah.
to believe this. She's I mean, she talks to anybody about everything.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
all she's doing is texting Mark Meadows and not saying anything over the
Not
dinner.
saying anything to
Right?
her best friend.
Yeah,
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 exactly. And the texts she's sending Mark Meadows were bonkers,
yes,
right? The Biden crime family is going to be, sent to Gitmo. And
yeah,
oh my gosh, it's
yeah,
just like, if you thought that QAnon was wacko, take QAnon and notch it up a couple of notches. And that's what she was sending to the chief of staff of the president of the United States.
no.
Very least, she's
She
a
is
security risk.
QAnon. She
Yeah.
is QAnon.
Oh yeah, she's
You
full
know?
blown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was a cult member
Mhm.
as a young woman
Oh, I
and
didn't know that.
Yeah.
still predisposed to being in a cult, and she
Which
is in
cult?
a cult.
This is
Life
news.
Spring.
Life Spring from the 80s.
Yeah.
And she was very vocal. That was like her first public thing where she
Right.
was helping people get out of cults.
Right.
She helped
After
you
that.
get out of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
This was after.
After she was deprogrammed, yeah.
Mhm, mhm,
Right.
But she still has that psychological makeup. I mean, it's obvious.
mhm, mhm.
And
Yes.
she's married to someone who is incurious. Imagine being a judge and just not having the curiosity to step outside the Fox Newsmax bubble.
Well, there's just nothing behind those eyes with him. There is just nothing.
Just
Like
And
I look at, as long as I can stand to look at him, and I see nothing. There's no lights on back there.
yeah,
I
I agree. Nothing there.
Nope.
Just dead eyes,
Yeah,
pretty
truly.
much. So, yeah, but I
And
mean,
I can't say that about other Supreme Court justices that I hate. I can't even say that about Mitch McConnell.
No.
right.
I see there's somebody home back there for Mitch McConnell. Like, I can see that.
It's working.
I hate it.
McConnell is
I hate him, but I can see it.
busy.
I don't feel like I'm talking, but I mean, whew, Clarence
Mitch
Thomas, man, I can see him
McConnell,
being married to somebody who's a cult member and having like not having the foggiest notion
yeah.
or even caring.
No,
Oh,
I'm
I
sure
but I
in
think he
cult
knows.
too.
I'm sure he knows. I'm sure he does. But I mean, I'm just saying that I could just see him being oblivious or not, not
I think
giving
he
a shit.
agrees. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I think
He
he
is
agrees.
in the cult too. And
Mhm.
how does that make you feel knowing that a Supreme Court justice is in a cult?
Right.
Fabulous.
Yeah, exactly.
But, we can at least give Mitch McConnell props for supporting the election, the changes to the Electoral Count Act.
Right.
Is that going to happen?
Yeah, well, I hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's behind it. That makes it more likely that it'll happen
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he'll,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Mitch
So-
McConnell is no idiot,
Mhm.
which I can't say about Kevin McCarthy. But
Right.
McConnell was very disturbed about January 6th
Yeah.
and is not bowing down to Dear Leader on
Yeah.
it, although he would probably vote for Dear Leader again.
Oh, I
sure
think he would.
All he cares about is the power. But
Yeah.
at the
Right.
same time, I don't think he wants to see another insurrection.
Yeah.
True. I don't
I
think
mean,
he
he's
does
got his
either.
limits, right? He'll steal Supreme Court seats, but he doesn't
Right.
want to see an insurrection.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's an
Yeah.
insurrection in itself, in my
Yeah.
opinion. But yeah, so we may see Ginny Thomas clips when they reschedule that January 6th committee hearing
that might
And
be
if it
because
did all that was useful, I wonder, when
well, she was there as a witness, and they wanted more on John Eastman,
Mhm.
right? And I'm sure she was willing to volunteer it all because she believes it. She's a true believer.
Nothing wrong.
Right. So I'm sure that, I mean, for her, and she's a lawyer, by the way,
Yeah.
for her, nothing Eastman proposed was illegal.
So's Aileen Kennan.
Yeah, I know. Well, worse yet, she's a judge for life now.
No, but I mean,
She ought to be impeached. I mean,
Yeah.
if in a world where the law mattered, she would be impeached.
But she's,
It's Florida.
it's Florida.
Yeah, well,
So she won't be. But, I hope that the January 6th committee's hearing is rescheduled for prime time. That would be nice. I
Yeah.
hope it's not rescheduled for next week when I won't be able to watch it.
Next week they're on recess, so
Okay.
yeah, it won't be next week.
Um,
I'm guessing it will be. I'd like it to be like the week before the midterms, but
yeah, that would be great.
or at least during early voting.
Yeah.
Which when does that start? I mean, that should actually be
Soon.
starting
Depends on
pretty
where
soon.
you are. Depends
Yeah,
on
depending on,
I know that they mail out the ballots here in California the first week of October.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
tomorrow is October 1st.
Right.
right.
It's
That's
upon
why
us.
that's why I got to get these postcards done.
Yeah.
I mean, early
Get
voting is
busy.
upon us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how worried are we that DeSantis is going to make sure that, in all the Republican districts, the voting apparatus is up and running first?
Oh, I think you can count on it.
Yeah. And
It's going to be
all the
heavy lift in
wealthy
Florida.
Floridians are going to be able to vote,
Right.
no problem.
Villages will get to vote as many times as they like.
They'll have
We
4
laugh,
times as
but
many
it's-
voting machines as there are people.
Take your votes over there, I'll vote for you.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh my
true.
God. Can we take a moment to, since we started off talking about journalism and the liberal media, can we take a moment to bash Maggie Haberman?
We can
Is there never? There's never a bad time for that.
always.
I know, but don't we have like some extra good reasons this week?
Something? The Skirball, where I am a member, is having her as a speaker.
Oh no.
And, on the one hand, I'm really interested in hearing what she has to say, but on the other hand, I don't want to give her any more credibility.
Bring tomatoes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that to the Skirball. They're a good institution. But
Yeah, they are.
But they're having Maggie Haberman.
Actually, this whole month they're doing public interest and people participating in the political process. They're doing
And they're having Maggie Haberman.
She's a Jewish woman with a book,
Well, I mean, and can we just like say that we would like to throw tomatoes at Maggie Haberman for
But
sitting
we're not
on the
literally advocating
information
for anybody to throw a tomato at Maggie Haberman.
that she held on to for
right.
6 years.
Right. Instead of like actually letting us know these things when they happened, because
Right.
it was important that we know
Right.
them.
Right.
She saved them for her book.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is why. Oh, yes, just to illustrate. Right. Sorry, I didn't actually say why I want to bash Maggie Haberman.
Right. That's
No,
why I
want to bash her.
figured we should probably
Yes.
explain that.
Yes. So say it again, because I spoke over you, Karoli.
Oh, just that she saved things that for her book that she should have let us know about.
Including that he'd taken things to Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
She knew that.
Including, she knew that.
Right.
She also knew that he just made up the thing about being audited for his taxes.
Yeah.
Because he's always audited for his taxes. Goes, yeah, well, they'll never stop auditing me, so it'll never end. Or
I mean, that we all knew was bullshit.
We all knew, but it's it's verified.
But he admitted it. He confirmed it to her.
Yes.
Right.
And she didn't reveal it. She saved it for her fucking book.
Yes.
I know. Well, so Maggie Haberman is an access journalist. She's always been an access journalist. She always will be one. And this is why she drives me crazy. I mean, I would throw tomatoes at her. Yeah. I would.
That's why I'm not taking you to the Skirball with me.
Probably good. That's probably a wise decision on your part. No, I wouldn't. I would throw virtual tomatoes at her, but I'm not sure I'd throw real ones. Yeah.
Virtual. That place, all those beautiful white walls. I wouldn't.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to do that either.
I would heckle her. I would bring signs.
I would love for you to come for that.
And heckle her. Yeah.
I would. Are we allowed to ask questions? I would. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean,
how does
nothing
Trump's
she could say
really taste is what I would like to know.
Ooh.
How does Trump's ass really taste?
Oh, I wonder if somebody will ask her that. It might be worth going there just to see some pushback in liberal Los Angeles.
Because if anybody who's listening to this, by all means, you're welcome to my question.
Yeah.
I won't consider it plagiarism.
Copyrighted?
No, it's certainly not copyrighted.
Oh.
I would really like someone to ask her that question.
She'd just duck it. That's the thing that makes me the maddest about her. She just really, she is pretty upfront about the fact that this is what she does. She's access and she holds back what she's going to hold for the book, and fuck the rest of us.
Yeah.
I guess I need to drop something in the fuck jar for that one.
And that's
Sorry.
how things are different now from Watergate. I mean, Woodward and Bernstein wrote 2 good books, but they did the real reporting, and it was in the Washington Post every single day.
Right.
We had Dan Rather back then.
Yeah, but even Woodward didn't Bob Woodward hold back shit about Trump?
Well, this is over the years. He's,
I'm just saying that, like, Bob Woodward in the Trump years behaved like Maggie Haberman.
Well, no, he's the model. He created the model. There wasn't anything like this kind of political book back,
right.
But Bob Woodward of the 1970s was a different Bob Woodward
Right.
of the 21st century.
Mm.
You know, when he was working with Bernstein, they were, you know, young and not established, and they were doing what was supposed to be done. And then you had Dan Rather on the news every day in the press room, just asking, you know, questions that irritated the hell out of the president without being, what's his name, without being a doozy about it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
because they were real questions.
Yeah.
Right.
He's an actual journalist.
He was an
Right.
actual journalist who, you know, invited a lot of right wing wrath that they eventually hounded him out of the business, out of being an anchorman at CBS.
Hmm.
Yep.
And that was payback for Watergate.
Oh yeah, that was definitely payback for Watergate.
All
And they
this
waited. They're patient. They'll wait a long time before they
Oh,
get it.
look how long
They'll
they
get it.
waited for Roe.
they're exactly
Yeah.
like the Taliban, you know?
Yep.
They don't forget and they do the long game. We, on the other hand, want immediate results.
Yep. I
You
know.
know what? I mean, I would love immediate results, but I don't demand immediate results, and I don't demand perfection. I
No, but
do
there are
demand the bare
factions of us.
fucking minimum. I
There are
demand
factions of us that don't see things happening, even though things may be happening behind the
that's true. That's true. But I'm just
that
saying,
they're not seeing anything done right now, or that, you know, you can't turn the ship around on a dime, you
yeah.
know?
And
Yeah.
I, you know, those people on our side frustrate me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Me too.
You know, it feels immature.
Well,
And
keep in mind, our site has a lot of young voters, and they are to some extent impatient. I mean, and
And you don't
sometimes they should be.
yeah.
So, for example, with regard to climate change, you see the devastation in
yeah,
Puerto Rico, in Florida, in South Carolina,
yeah.
and these kids are saying we can't wait.
Yeah.
We have to do things now, and they're right.
And
They
the
are
same
right.
with guns. Same with guns.
Yep.
Same with guns. Oh my God.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Exactly.
and that again, that is a difference in structure. They're an old white homogenous party. We're an actual big tent with
Hmm.
lots
Yeah,
of
an actual one. We actually have
and
a
so
diverse group.
our politics are always going to be messy.
Mhm.
Right.
And that strategically can be an issue when it comes to
Yeah, if you
messaging.
encourage, if you live diversity,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
then it's going to be there are going to be wires that need untangling everywhere.
that's why Dems
Yep.
in disarray will not die.
Right.
Yeah, and you know,
And actually, though, I would say that the
we need a
Republicans are
new
in
They're
disarray.
framing for
bad.
that. What'd you say, Carolee?
I said I would actually say, I mean, Dems in disarray won't die, but it's really Republicans who are
Right now.
in disarray.
They
They
are
are
in
in
disarray, and
major
I would argue
disarray.
that we need a new framework for Dems in disarray. I think I need a new. I want to come up with a new. I don't know, just a
No.
new framing for that because I
Well,
mean,
I
I'm
mean,
just,
because we're actually getting shit done.
Yeah.
we are
That's the
getting shit done.
difference.
Just, I mean, that thing that you sent Carolee today about Biden's all the things Biden has done to help Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
And South Carolina preemptively before. I
Yeah.
mean, I know that the hurricane, I guess it made landfall today, this afternoon,
Yes, it did.
Right.
in South Carolina. But you know,
Right.
in advance of that happening, all the things he did,
Yeah.
all the people he mobilized,
Yeah.
all the facets of the government he made sure were at the ready.
Because he's a real president instead
He's
of
a
what
real
he's pretending
president,
to be.
you know,
Right.
and I mean, that list was exhaustive.
It
Yeah.
was exhaustive. I
And a
have to say,
pleasure to read.
my favorite part of the list, and it was one that was set out by the White House, was when they sent out the cows and colts. So I
Yes.
didn't know.
I'm
So
like, really? They said no
is
cows?
yeah, cows is an acronym for cell on wheels,
Yeah.
and colts is an acronym for cells on something trucks. I can't remember what it is, but basically they were bringing in cell towers.
Cell
That's what it
towers.
was. Yeah.
It's
And so there's a cows and colts.
Service. to bring the service to the areas where people
right.
that.
Well, I learned something new today. Cows and colts.
Cows and colts.
We have 5 minutes left. I want to talk about something fun.
Okay.
Lizzo at the Library of Congress.
Yes. She was so great. She's such an amazing musician. She's an amazing musician.
Who knew that the Library of Congress had 200 flutes?
Not me.
I didn't.
And one made of crystal that belonged to James Madison.
And how about all the white tears?
Well,
that's the funny part.
The entertainment.
I mean, that's the entertaining part.
About her playing James Madison's flute.
Yeah,
I loved it. We loved that
beautifully.
Of course, she plays 3 notes, and the sound is her tone is unbelievable.
No, she is a classically trained flautist.
Yeah,
right.
And I haven't seen flutes used so well in popular music since Jethro Tull.
Right. Exactly.
She's a genuine talent.
Fantastic.
And there was this. I'm looking for something specifically, and I don't know if I can. If you can read this, can you read this?
Put it up a little more.
Put it up a little more.
Raise it up more.
There
you flute that Lizzo played, and it pleased the youth, but you don't really care for music, do you?
There you go.
Very good. Okay.
This made me laugh so hard in response. At first I was getting so angry because I was reading all those disgustingly sexist and racist and fat-phobic remarks about her playing the flute, her having the temerity.
The thing is, I saw the tweets on Saturday between the Library of Congress inviting her and her saying, I'd love to come. What a great idea. And then when I found out that she did it, it's like, is amazing.
Yes.
But it never occurred to me that it would freak.
Are you kidding?
But it should have. We should know by now that if a Black woman does anything that's actually impressive, right? The white people get crazy about it. It's just stupid. It's like
the white wing goes nuts.
White wing. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Yeah.
The White Wing Goes Nuts. That's a great book title.
It is.
So I'm going to keep that in mind. But that was wonderful. That was so great. And oh my goodness.
How lucky the people who got to go to that concert when they brought that out. How lucky were they to witness that in person?
And how much did her playing that flute teach? Yeah. The world.
I want to go to the Library of Congress now and look at all their musical instruments.
Me too.
This is what I forget the woman's name, but this is the first African-American curator of the Library of Congress, right? And she, all of a sudden, everybody wants to go to the Library of Congress now. Yeah. What a brilliant move.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great.
Next time we visit, right?
I want to go. I mean, I've been there. I went and I actually went there to study, to help to research my thesis.
Yeah, you lived.
That was 32 years ago.
Yes, I've been.
Is it time for MOMocrats to go back to Washington, D.C.? Is that what we're saying?
Plan another trip.
It might be.
We need to plan another trip for 2023.
I know it's my turn to come to California, though.
Yeah, I know, but
here's something out. Should we end this a little early?
Well, I just want to put in a plug for Gutsy on Apple TV. The Hillary and Chelsea Clinton series. It's really, really good. And I was like, I hadn't even heard of it. My daughter was texting me, have you watched this? Have you watched this? You've got to watch this.
Don't listen to the critics, because the critics are all calling it a vanity project. The critics are just nasty.
You know what? I would be okay with a vanity project from them.
You know what? It's a great. It's really good.
Is it a limited series, or is this going to be like a weekly show?
A limited series. I think it's like 6 episodes.
Okay.
Yeah, so 6 or 7. I don't know.
Are they all out at the same time?
I mean, it reminds me a little. I mean, they're out. Yeah,
Okay.
they're all out. It reminds me a little of like Chef's Table. If you watch that, like they hone in on like one specific thing each week and
Nice.
everything. So I mean, if you want to call it a vanity project, call it that. But it's more than that to me. I mean, they're basically
It's real
expanding our.
conversations.
Yeah, it's like conversation, and it's like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just really good.
With
I
accomplished
liked it.
with accomplished
And
women.
right. And celebrating accomplished women of all races, not just white
Right.
people, white,
Right.
you
Gee, I
know.
wonder why the critics don't like it.
Bingo.
Yeah, and bada
All
bing.
right. There we go. That is our show. Join
All
us
right.
at momocrats.buzzsprout.com, our YouTube channel, or find us on your favorite podcast service such as iTunes, Google, and Amazon Music. And be sure to check our Facebook page for updates. This is
All
Donna
right.
Schwartz Mills, Karoli, and Aliza Worthington saying goodbye for the MOMocrats. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
MOMocrats
Bye.
Mama Chat is part of the DemCast family of podcasts.